Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. This video is going to take a look at weathering powders. I had a request from a patron to do a review of weathering powders, maybe some instructions on them. And I decided that I would pick up a set of weathering powders that I don't have and compare it to two other sets that I have. So we're going to take a look at MIG Productions, we're going to take a look at Eames Productions, and we're going to take a look at Mig Ammo, which is a newish company, and this was a product of a falling out between one of the employees, Jimenez, and MIG Productions. So I thought it might be interesting to take a look at those and see if it has changed, let's say, from MIG Productions to Mig Ammo. And people are going to ask me about secret weapon. I think I mentioned it in the content. I don't have any secret weapon weathering powders to compare, but I don't think I need to, and I'll explain more about that at the end of the video. I should add that I shot this video content-wise before shooting this introduction. I had a hiccup where the camera cut out, but I think I got the right spot that I left it at and picked up the video from that point. And the video is a little long. In fact, that was part of the reason why it got cut out. So, if you are interested in maybe a little bit of rambling and a lot of sort of seeing parts of the process whereby I go through that, you might want to put this video on in the background close to where you're working and just, glance over when I show something, and that might be a best way to watch it. So, let's take a look at these weathering powders. I'm going to talk a little bit about the ways I tested them, and also a little bit about how I make up washes for them to apply them to terrain and miniatures. So it took me about 2 hours to get ready for this, including some pre-research to make sure that what I show you actually makes some sense. Hopefully I can do this on less than 3 takes. So what I wanted to do today was show you first the different brands that I have available for weathering powders, the color comparisons between them, and then also utilizing some different fluids to work them on a palette to see how that affects them in terms of dissolving them if you wanted to apply them as a wet. Now, I did do, well, before I get ahead of myself. So first, what do I have in front of me? I recently bought, for this review, this was, of course, a request from one of my patrons. So I decided to pick up, right? This is MIG Ammo. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the world of weathering powders and MIG, wait a minute, I'll get used to this in a second. There we go. MIG Ammo split off from MIG. Jimenez, I believe is his last name, had a falling out with the company, and so he decided to start up his own pigment company. So that is MIG Ammo. Now, the original MIG Productions is still available, and this is, the bottle that they come in. The other MIG Ammo is a 35 mil bottle. This is a 20 mil, and I'm going to talk about the pricing and all of that at the end of this video. So that is one thing to be aware of. So we're going to take a look at MIG Ammo, and we're going to take a look at MIG Productions, and then we're also going to take a look at a weathering powder set that was my first set that I got quite a while back. This is made by Eames Productions and Products. They make actually quite a variety of weathering powders. I haven't even looked at their website since I originally bought this, and I think I got this at a railroad show, actually, so I don't think I ever looked at their site. They have a lot of weathering liquids, and they have a fairly diverse array of weathering powders. The weathering powders come in a small box, however, something like that. Let's see here. There we go. And you can buy them as a mixed set where they come in these little boxes, or you can buy them as a tall box that's basically the equivalent of 4 of these boxes stacked together, something I believe like that. And these come in a little case that stores them. So They list it as, I believe these are 1/4 ounce, and you can get a single color as a single ounce. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later at the end. So, what I ended up getting, so let's talk quickly about the sets that you can purchase. I bought the Eames Products Weathering Powder Kit. This is their mini kit, and it comes with dark rust, medium earth, grimy black, and light rust. So really, for this, I just want to look at the rusts to keep it kind of consistent amongst them, and probably rust is the #1 weathering powder most people want to look at. So we're looking at these two in particular. This is there, and we'll look at the bottom here. Oh my God, don't spill these, please. Don't spill these. There we go. So they have two colors, right? They're standard rust, medium, and then they're dark rust here. Then I had more recently purchased the MIG pigment set. I actually have a few more pigments that I picked up at that time. This is their, oh gosh, I can't remember. It's like their generic set. It's got Ashes White and Black Soot. It has Vietnam Earth and Industrial Dirt. And then it comes with two rusts, which are Standard Rust and Light Rust. So we're going to use those as our comparisons here. And then for the review, I also got the set of MIG's Ammo Rust set, which has their light rust. Let's take a look at that. Their light rust, their, or his, let's say, their medium rust, and then this is what they call, what is it? Whoops, track rust. So there's quite a bit of color variation amongst the products, and there are other colors that I don't have here to show to compare them. Many of you are going to say, well, wait a minute, where's Secret Weapon? I don't have any Secret Weapon pigments. We'll talk a little bit about them on how they compare, but I think for this comparison you can draw some conclusions from Secret Weapon without them actually being present, So I took a look at these colors, and I wanted to select a standard color that was most consistent amongst the three to make our first look at. So what I decided is that MIG Ammo's Light Rust, and looking at the bottom here, and I think this is going to be the best match. This is the Standard Rust. So what is this called? This is Light. This is Standard, right? So the names have no real consistency in terms of color. And then the best comparison in the Eames is their their medium rust. All right, so that gives you a sense of the colors in the bottle. They're actually pretty different, but this is the closest match amongst the three based on the ones I have in front of me. As I mentioned, MIG Ammo and MIG Productions have other rusts, and I believe Eames does as well. So I'm going to pull these forward, these three, and these are what we're going to look at. The first thing that I was curious about was, I'm trying to keep my brushes here separate so that I don't cross-contaminate them, right? So I have a brush for each. What I was mostly curious about, shake that one off, there's always a little, pigments, man, they're everywhere. I already wiped down this whole table, and there's like patches of pigments all over the place, and they really can stain clothes, so I'm trying to be a little careful here. So what I thought was the first thing I wanted to do was look at their adhesive properties and their color on a piece of white paper. I don't usually use rusts as pigments as a dry product, but for this purpose I thought that might be a good start for comparison. So a lot of times people will just brush on their weathering powders, and so what I've done is I've tried to select 3 brushes here, one for each bottle so I don't contaminate them, that have roughly the same bristles in terms of their use and their springiness. This is the exact same brush, and they're both relatively the same age, and this brush is the same model, same make I should say, but it's just slightly smaller. So that way when I scrub, right, I'm going to get a similar, hopefully a similar kind of abrasion, if you will, to the actual powder. So I'm just rubbing it in just a little bit here, and pushing it around, I think, gives you a better sense of the color of it, because I noticed it looks quite dark. And then once you start scrubbing it into a white surface, you get a little bit of a truer color to it. And I'll pull this up in a second to have you take a closer look. Then I thought I'd brush it out and make an area that's a little bit thinner that I could test for its adhesion to the paper. Typically modeling pigments are not considered, they're not adhering to the model very well, right? You want to cover them with a dull coat or a matte medium or something to make sure that they stay down, otherwise you'll rub them off with your fingers. But I thought, maybe the weathering powders have an individual adhesion ability to stick with the paper that maybe might be different. One thing I've noticed is that the pigments sometimes form, wait a minute, my monitor shut off, so I just want to make sure I'm in focus. Okay, I should look at the lens and not the monitor. They form little balls where the pigments have glommed together, and I thought that this might be just an effect of like shipping, maybe in handling, right? You shake it up and the pigment starts to clump together just because of, whatever its properties. But in all the times I've used, say, the Eames powders, and we'll take out a little bit of this in a second, but you can see it really hasn't clumped at all, I think, compared to the MIG Productions. I don't know whether that's really an important feature for use, but I find it to be interesting. Now, of course, I haven't had the MIG Ammo around enough to really be able to say, is that something that just happens with a lot of handling? But the MIG Ammo, let's see if you can take a look in that bottle, it does have a bit of that clumping that's occurring. So, I don't know, something to think about. All right, back to the test. So this is the MIG Productions Standard Rust. So I'll scrub that in a little bit here. We can take a look at that color comparison, because they do look quite a bit different when you're looking at them through the bottle. And I'll drag out some of that so we can see it streaked out. Oh, well, my hand is blocking it. All right. I told you I'm new at this. It's kind of good training. Someday, when I actually start making tutorials, I'll have some of this practice down that I can use. But I want to do 2 cameras. Anyway, I have some other thoughts. Back to this. All right, so there's the standard. And here is the Eames Rust. This is their medium rust. Let's get a little bit out, not too much. And I've had this Eames weathering powder set for probably at least 6 years. I mean, this was the first set I got, and I got it ages ago. And you might say to yourself, why would you buy any other weathering pigments for rust? Mainly because none of the colors are actually the same. So let me shake this off. Let's get rid of all this extra powder here. 2 seconds off camera while I dump this in my trash can without making a mess. All right, shake that out. We'll come back. So you can see that there really is quite a big difference in the color shading, say, for instance, with the MIG's light rust, standard rust, I should say, the MIG Productions. Right, it's definitely a deeper red. Give you a little close-up of that, if I can keep that in frame. I gotta do everything backwards. All right, I'm going to assume that's in focus. I think so. It's a little hard to tell on the monitor. And then what I thought was then I would just try brushing off some of it in the paper. Now, of course, this is not like the surface of a model, so, bear with me here. But I thought, that I might try rubbing it and see if I can pull any of it off from that area that was brushed. And, it does come off. And I thought after I did this, with the previous time I did this before I actually shot the video, that it seemed actually pretty uniform. They all seemed to pull off at about the same rate. So, something that I just wanted to see, actually, for myself, and I thought you might be interested in seeing it. So then my second thought was to, actually, why close this? I don't know. I'm just going to use one of these for the next test. I'm going to assume that the properties for all of these are very similar, because they really seem very similar. in terms of their wetting in a liquid as well as their dry application. So rather than, put all three in some water or whatever, I'm just going to pick one to be the example. And we'll slide this over here. We'll bring this up. And I'll show you how they dissolve. Now, this is a old bathroom tile. Here's a quick tip. This is my palette. It's been my palette for the last 5 years, maybe. And when I want to clean it, I've got a razor stuck in the workbench. And I just scrape it off. Got to be careful of your fingers, though, so keep them behind the razor. But even the edges, I just trim off all of the paint. And it's gotten pretty scratched over time, so some of the paint stays, but it's below grade and it's dry, so I don't really care about it. Anyway, reusable palette, a ceramic tile from your bathroom. Pick one up at Home Depot, sample. They'll probably give you one for free. Okay, moving on. So let's take a look at the light rust. And in my experience, from what I have read online, in terms of what people use, there are basically 3 wetting agents that people use to apply pigments as a wash. And that's pretty much how I always use them. I have found trying to brush them in, I don't know, I don't like the effect. There are some places where it is the best, but I usually want it more in the recesses, and when you scrub it in, right, you end up with a lot on the top surface. So it really depends on the kind of effect you want, but I usually use a wash. So what I thought I would do is show you them dissolving in 3 liquids. I'm going to keep these droppers here so that I don't contaminate the liquids with the individual droppers. So what I have here, by the way, quick tip number 2, pipettes. These are little disposable pipettes. They're like, you buy a bag of them from Dick Blick art site, and I don't know, what are they, like 10 cents each? I reuse them until they get so nasty I have to throw them out. Very handy for transferring liquids. So what do I have here? I have 3 liquids. I have regular alcohol, like rubbing alcohol. This is, oh gosh, since I need more in the cup, we might as well take a look. This is 91% isopropanol. You can get various percentages. I just got 91%. It's the highest I think you can get. Let me just put a little more in that cup. Okay. And that's one of the most common ones. Second most common, I think, well, I shouldn't say that. Second one that people often use, how about that, is just regular water. Now what I've done is I've added a couple drops of Jet Dry. It's a surfactant. Think of it like adding a couple drops of dish detergent. And that is a little wetting agent because alcohol actually has a very low surface tension, so it spreads very quickly and evenly, and the water needs a little help to do that. The third liquid I thought I'd show you are mineral spirits. And I have seen other people say applying it with mineral spirits, so I thought we would take a look at it. So one of the things that I've noticed, so let's start with, I guess it doesn't matter if I contaminate the brush now, but I think this is the right brush. This is a very different kind of video. I hope you're enjoying it. So one of the things that I have found in the past is that when I dissolve weathering powders in a liquid, I get clumps, and I'll show you that with the alcohol. Actually, let's do the mineral spirits first because it does it the worst, I believe. And what do I mean by clumps? When I wet it and you try to dissolve it in the liquid, so typically what I would do is I'd add weathering powders to this cup, stir it up to get a nice solution, and then dip from here with my brush to apply it to the terrain piece or the model, that sort of idea. What I have discovered, though, is that when I do that, the weathering powder doesn't really very smoothly stay dissolved in the mineral spirits. And we're gonna, let me put a little extra drop on here. It depends on, of course, how dilute it is and how much you're adding, but when I put that in, now it may look pretty even at the moment, and I'm going to look in real close here and see if I'm just crazy, man. Well, we're going to look at all 3 liquids, so maybe I've forgotten which is which in terms of the effect. All right, I'm not going to say too much more. Let's evaluate it together. So I'm going to let that sit for just a few more seconds while I clean my brush. And let's get all of that material out of the brush. And then let's take a look at that. Actually, it's doing better than I thought. Why is that? Okay. We're going to learn together. One of the things that I'm noticing, however, is that it's not actually, I don't know if you're going to be able to see the actual mineral spirits dripping. We'll see in post-production. Maybe I can bump up the contrast to show that. It's not actually dissolved in it. It's actually sitting below it. I'm going to add a little more and mix that a little more. I probably shouldn't have cleaned the brush. Let's do that. But it took me so long to set up this video. I am not shooting this again. So you're going to get a crazy one take here because actually this is take 2. All right, so I'm trying to put it in a deeper concentration. We may do one more test before I'm done with this. But anyway, this is my look at it in terms of how it has spread within the light glare. There we go. And I don't want to drip this on me. So I'm going to take that off. Let's wash my brush. Let's try the water and jet dry next. Dry my brush. Paper towel. Don't knock over cups. This is a pretty tight little working area. In the future, I'd like to, maybe with a different lens, zoom in from a little further away. That's probably what I should have done. Always learning. All right, so let's get this all cleaned up. And dry it off just to make sure. All right, and let's try it again with the water and rubbing, water and jet dry. So I'll put a little on there. And a little jet dry, a little water and jet dry. And we'll mix that in. Now, hopefully you can see that right away that the pigment is actually floating in the liquid quite a bit more. The edge of the actual liquid is full with the pigment, whereas with the mineral spirits, right, I had it dripping really far away and it wasn't carrying any of the pigment with it. So that's an important difference. And in fact, I'm going to see if I can thin this out a little bit. Let's take it further away here. All right. We'll thin that out a little bit. I'll show you that up close. All right. Don't drip on me. Oh my God. Angling it for the camera and not keeping it from dripping, a little bit of a trick. All right, so that gives you a sense of what it looks like mixed in the water. That's a fairly heavy concentration there, but a fairly dilute one here. So it gives you a nice, hopefully a nice comparison. And we'll do one more, and then we're going to do one more test before I wrap this up. All right, so let's throw that out. Trash. Oh my gosh. Messy. I was thinking I might edit out some of this cleanup stuff, but you know what? I think I'm going to leave it in. You can see the challenges of doing this. All right, here we go. Last one. Oh, wait a minute. Get the water out of my brush. Let's do that. Okay. I don't know why my nose is a little runny here. And let's do a little more. And we'll do it with rubbing alcohol. All right, I think this is going to show the effect that I'm talking about maybe the best. So let's spread that out. Now it is being carried by the liquid, right? So to the edge of the liquid. I'm going to do the mineral spirits one more time, make sure that I'm not crazy here. But when I spread this out, and let's see, let me get it kind of thin over here. And I'm going to add just a drop there to thin it a little more. All right, it is showing the effect that I was talking about. I'm going to clean my brush. All right, and you can see in this upper section here, okay, light glare, Okay, that's not too bad, right? If I bring it up a little bit, tilt it. See up here how it's actually kind of clumping? The term for this is flocculating, and it is getting into this sort of lumpiness that will actually transfer when I do a wash on a model, right? It will end up clumping before the alcohol dries, and you don't get a very nice, even effect. And I've kind of had that happen numerous occasions, and I didn't really sit down to do this kind of an experiment, which is kind of silly, actually, when you think about it. So I've been traditionally using water and jet dry, just because it seemed like it gave the best results. But I want to go back to the mineral spirits one more time and try that one more time, because if I recall, it was doing that effect as well, but it didn't really look like it. So let's just try one more time. And I'm going to try more spirits, less powder. Let's do that. All right. And I'm just going to take a little here. And let's, oh, there we go. Okay. So, actually, this shows it pretty well. So, as I'm trying to rub this in, notice two things are happening. One, I'm actually rubbing it into the palette. And two, wait a minute. You know, leaving a brush in a cup is the best way to knock the cup over, which I have done so many times on this table that, and whatever's in the cup goes flying everywhere. It's not fun. So, this even shouldn't be in here. All right. Anyway, taking a look at this, you can see that it is flocculating around the edge here. So it's almost like a dual effect, whereby you're rubbing it into the surface and it's flocculating as it floats on the mineral spirits. So I really don't like either of those as a method of applying weathering powders. And if I'm missing something about that, of course, leave a question or comment down below in the comment feed here for the video, because I'm always eager to learn more. But this has been my typical experience using weathering powders. So I think for the last, I'm going to actually do it the way I normally do it, and let's see if you can tell. So I'm going to pour out a little bit of this water so I don't have so much, so I don't have to put in as much weathering powder. So let's I'm going to throw a couple spoonfuls, give you a sense of how much. I'm going to mix up my alcohol. This is what I would do normally. I would mix it up. Now, I'm not going to pull this up to the camera, but I think you can see. See how it's still got a particle effect in the back there? Right? It's not really dissolving. You're really making a suspension. I mean, I guess technically it's a suspension no matter what. For those of you who forgot your 8th grade science, a suspension holds particles. In a solution, they truly dissolve. So this is a suspension, but if I had put salt in it and made salt water, that would actually be a solution. And I don't blame you if you've forgotten your 8th grade science, because I have forgotten my 8th grade history. So, but you can see, all right, see how it's settling out? See how it's flocculating? You're getting all that clumping, and look at how it begins to increase over time. Keep it out of the... All right, to me, not a very desirable effect. Oh my gosh. We're going to let that go, and we're going to talk over it because I am not reshooting it. So let's do the jet dry. This is a dry brush here, so I'm not going to get alcohol in it. And let's put a little in there. All right, I'm going to mix that up. Keep it on camera here as much as possible. All right. So, if you notice, hopefully you can see that against the white background in the back of the cup, that is really well dissolved. Well, it's not technically dissolved. It's a very, very fine suspension of particles, right? The particles come apart, they stay apart, and you end up with a much more even wash application. Now, to be fair, if anybody's going to complain about these kinds of experiments, one valid complaint would be that I haven't controlled the amount of liquid and the amount of weathering powder very well in any of these. But quite frankly, I didn't want to get out a gram scale and and try to pipe out 2 millimeters and 1 gram. And so hopefully you'll forgive me for that lack of detail. But once you take... Okay, I didn't realize that the camera cut out on me. It actually has a timer on it, and it can only shoot for half an hour, which means I've been going for a while. But I'll need to fix that in the future. I think there's a hack for it. So I will share with you, I was almost done with two things. And before I clean the palette, I want to share with this, and then we'll take a look at the mineral spirits. I had to go back and look. Where did I cut off? So what I was mentioning that got cut off is that you will want to look at pigments more for their colors than for their physical properties, because I really think the physical properties are pretty much all the same on them. They all seem to perform equally well in terms of their dissolvability, their particle sizes, in terms of when you try to brush it into something. And the choice to me comes down to color more than anything else. And when you take a look at these various colors, they may call it standard rust, or they may call it old rust, or they might call it new rust, or dark rust, or track rust, or orange rust, or young rust, or there's like 100 different rust names out there. But really, in the end, I would pick the colors that you like, and if you don't have the color that you want, so I wanted to make up this color. Oh, battery's low, better hurry up. If you want to make this color, basically what I did here, and I'll separate them here, and I'll show you a close-up of it. I wanted to make this color, and I used to blend to get as close as I could, basically 3 colors. I used a little bit of the Industrial City Gray, I used a touch of the black, and I used a generous amount of the standard rust. And if you look, all right, here's my mix. Here's the right out of the little tub there, right? I got pretty close. Is it perfect? No. But is it going to be close enough to get me the effect that I want? Yeah, I think so. So don't be afraid if you don't have the color in terms of when you go to purchase them. You buy this set. Now, obviously, you're limited in getting a brighter color out of this. But, if you bought the regular set from MIG Productions, which I don't recommend, we'll talk about why, then you could mix up a color that was darker by using some of the darker pigments that are available. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And just before I go from this view, let's just wipe this off real quick. I want to revisit that solubility issue because I was showing you the 3 different liquids that it was dissolved in off camera, unbeknownst to me, while it was the camera has stopped working, stopped recording, I should say. I added in a handful, a generous amount, not generous, but into the mineral spirits, and mixing that up. All right, I think you can see how all those particles are just sitting in there? They're not really dissolved, and in fact, they're just settling right out. So let's take a look at it. If I try to apply it, right, stir it around, try to make sure I get an even amount on my brush. And when let me wash that brush out a little bit. And when you go to take a look at it, it's not really providing a good solution. And again, here goes the mineral spirits without carrying any of the pigment. So I don't recommend mineral spirits, but I do feel like I heard somebody talk about them in the past, so maybe I'm crazy. Oh, you know what? Oh, no. Oh, I think I used, oh my gosh. You guys, I can't help it. You know what? I think I did this wrong because I think the brush still had some water on it. I'm going to grab a fresh brush. Actually, this brush is dry. Here we go. Here we go. Because I was like, that's doing it better than I thought. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Oh, all right. All right, I get my problem here with it, though, is I'm not getting a wash. I'm getting a liquid pigment that I can push around. And if I try to just wash it, there we go. Yeah, you can see that better. If I wanted to just flood an area and then let it run down the side of the model, I'm not going to get that effect. You can see here where it's clumped, and when it runs right off the table. Actually, I might as well do that since I'm almost done. And there's no pigment in any of the mineral spirits being carried off. So, not the effect I'm looking for, and so I usually default to water and jet dry, or a drop of dish detergent, but I just happen to like jet dry more. All right, hopefully that gives you a good overview, and you're probably wishing I'd wrap it up, so let's go out and wrap it up. So, having taken a look at them, what I thought I would do is just share my final thoughts on them in terms of, you know, if I were to choose a brand, which brand would I choose? So rather than try to read off of some notes, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put up here a list of the different companies, their price per bottle, their volume per bottle, and you can see that MIG Ammo and Eames products really come in above the rest in terms of dollar value. Now, having said that, as I mentioned before in the content, it's really going to come down to color selection, I think, that will drive some of your choice in terms of which weathering powders to buy. But saying that, you might be surprised to see you know, what colors are available with different companies, so shop around. And don't be afraid to mix your colors to make pigments that they may not carry. Of course, some things like turquoise or blue, you know, it's really Secret Weapon and MIG Productions, I think, if you want to go for that kind of an out-of-the-ordinary weathering pigment color. Personally, I would recommend also that you go to Eames Products website and take a look at their weathering washes. They have quite a few, actually, and it's a new website for me for modeling supplies. It's geared very heavily towards railroad modelers, but you know, there's a lot of overlap. I always say that, so you might be interested in checking out their website and seeing some of the other products that they have. They have not paid me to endorse them. So hopefully you found some of this interesting, useful, helpful, bizarre. And if you want to leave any questions or comments, you know, feel free to leave them down below. I am still trying to answer almost every single one. So while that is physically possible for me, I will continue to do so. Don't forget, you can also submit questions to the Q&A. And I'm on Twitter, and I've put up a picture recently of some buildings that I've done for the Unplugged GT. Some pictures, a picture. And I will be doing a video on those buildings shortly. Lots of things to shoot. I'm going to try to shoot a few videos here today. And for those of you who may be wondering, you know, what is Patreon and my patron comment, there, if you follow that link, there's a video there that explains it in a little more detail. And I have put a few posts there that are public for anyone to take a look at. So you might be interested in checking out those and seeing what kinds of content I'm putting up there. You don't have to become a patron. You could just look at the public posts and learn from them. So thank you once again for joining me. I really do appreciate and welcome all the new subscribers. I really appreciate you joining the channel. And I will be back soon with another TerranScapes video. Oh my God, don't tell me. Oh, okay, this is where I start to cry. This is where I start to